All right, welcome everyone. Thank you, Oakridge, for inviting us to put this panel together. I'm joined by three panelists. I guess we'll just kind of go in a circle and maybe introduce ourselves. I will start and then I'll name someone, and then if you could follow the same pattern, that would be awesome. My name is Lizzie Gray and I'm a project coordinator for Connected Lane County. Your teacher, Miss Kaylee, reached out to us to put this panel together and we were happy to do so. And I'm going to call on Sarah.
Hi guys, I'm Sarah, and I am a nurse on the oncology floor at Riverbend Hospital.
Awesome. And who do you call on?
Oh, okay, cool. Mitra.
Hi, I'm Mitra, and I'm an upcycle fashion designer and entrepreneur. And I also do a lot of program development and starting up a makerspace.
That's great. So for those who don't know, what is upcycling?
Upcycling is the transformation of unwanted materials into products or things that have higher value. So recycling is when you take something and you break it down so that it can be reused without going into the waste stream. And upcycling is where you take similar types of unwanted materials and usually through a process of creativity, make it into something with higher value.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. And last but not least, Joshua.
Hi, Joshua Monhay with Waymaker SEO. I'm a search engine optimization consultant, basically trying to organize the internet one website at a time. Trying to get the websites to actually find the right, or have the right people find the websites. Oh my gosh, I'm like terrible at this.
Nope, that's all good. So thank you, Oakridge class, for putting some questions together. We compiled those and sent them over to our panelists. And so I figured we would just ask a couple of the general questions that you created, and then we'll kind of popcorn back and forth between panelists and ask them some of the questions that apply just to them and the work that they do. So starting us off, Sarah, how would you describe your job in general? Maybe give us like a 1-minute recap of what a day could look like.
Okay. So I work the night shift right now because I'm still like a new graduate nurse. I graduated within the last year, so it's pretty common that we end up getting put on night shift. So I go to work around 6:30 and my shift starts at 7. We usually do what we call like a huddle. So we kind of like gather around, talk about what our unit looks like as a whole, and like if there's any specific rooms we should look out for certain like risks that we would need to be aware of, just so that like everyone on the floor is able to like jump in and help in case there's anything that goes on. So we kind of get a good idea of what the whole floor looks like for the night. And then we all separate out. Usually until around 7:30, we do what we call handoff. So you meet with the nurse who had your patients during the day shift, and you talk about what happened. If you know that patient, like you've had them before, you kind of do a brief one. If you don't know them so well, you go over their whole medical history, and then important things that happen throughout the day for them that you'll want to know on your shift. And then you pretty much just start, usually kind of spend some time looking at the computer, figuring out like what your night's going to look like, what meds you have to pass, what's the first things you want to do, if there's any specific rooms you're going to have to spend more time in. And then you pretty much just get going. You go into patients' rooms, you meet them, you kind of form a rapport, you perform assessments on them, and then, you usually have meds at like 9 o'clock, oftentimes at midnight. On the night shift, it's a lot more about kind of trying to preserve sleep. So we're trying to kind of group care so that we're not in and out of rooms every 5 minutes. And that's kind of how we spend the night, barring any crazy thing happening. You sort of try to stick to that schedule and do lots of charting and make sure you get everything that you did like on the computer so that it can be seen. And yeah, basically just kind of try to keep your patients alive throughout the night. And then we do the same sort of process at the end where we give report to the next oncoming nurses.
Very cool. And charting is just taking notes in a patient's chart so that there's a track record of what's happened?
Yeah, that's kind of the gist of it. But you know, there's like certain charting tasks you have to hit. So for us, like we have to make sure we chart a full assessment on our patient. Well, you know, there it's all laid out for you. Like we use the charting system called Epic. So it's basically kind of like laid out for you what you need to do, and then you want to fill it all in. And then you'll also have spaces where you can write notes if like anything happened that was like unusual, because you want to make sure that you kind of like wrote what happened. And like if you notified the doctor, if you got any new orders to do, just to make sure people know like, oh, this patient kind of got really unstable. What did they do to make sure they kind of stabilized again? And then there's like little kind of extra tidbits. We talk about like education that we did for our patients and like kind of what their care plan looks like. And then it's a lot of charting, because if you don't chart, then you didn't really do it. So yeah, it's really important.
Awesome. Thanks, Sarah.
Mhm.
Mitra, what about you? How would you describe what you do?
So I do a lot of things. I feel like I have kind of 3 separate jobs. I teach, so I kind of informally teach. I work with a lot of apprentices and mentorships with high school students and folks, both virtually and in person, teaching them design thinking and what I do. In my business, I kind of wear a couple of hats. I have the administrative side of running the actual business, and then the side of performing the work of my business, which usually involves working with clients on projects, like if they have a waste material. For instance, recently, St. Vincent de Paul gave me some baby bumpers that they had donated by Pottery Barn. They have a lot of them, and they're not selling super fast, and just the amount they have probably is way more than babies out there. So I actually took the baby bumpers, and they're really cute patterns and things, and I took 2 groups of my student interns, and we just kind of brainstormed ideas that we could make out of the baby bumpers. Like, we feel the material, we look at its qualities and think about what we could use it for, and then we actually made a couple of samples in that same session of what we did. We ended up with some dog beds and some slippers and some various bags. One set of my interns is doing like this collaborative kind of modular design, where one of the students is making like a basket, I'm making a mat, and another student's making a bag, and they all fit together to make this stool. And then I pitch the product back to my client, which would be St. Vincent de Paul, and they decide whether or not they want to order that product. But here's the cool thing, and the point of what I do is, so those items would be waste material that they would have to pay to throw away. So that's really expensive. If you think how voluminous baby bumpers are and how many of them they have about 17 pallets of these. Yeah, that's a lot of money to throw those away. And then the fact that we can come in and focus our creativity on this and transform them into a product, they would actually buy these back from me that would create work in our community, work that I might pass on to a contractor or a couple of contractors, so that they could work from home or work from my makerspace. And then and then they sell them in their stores. So St. Vincent de Paul takes something that they would pay to get rid of, creates work in the community for people, and good paying work, and then has an option to sell these items to make money. So it's this complete transformation of perception of waste, which is really a huge point of the work I do. And then I also do work for like individual people, where we might redesign a piece that's damaged. I had a client bring me some jeans that the crotches have blown out, and we are splicing them together with some camo shorts to make these cool designs. So my projects range, but it is a mix of administrative work. I do hire someone to do my social media, who is a youth that's really good at that. So a part of my business plan is really to plug young people into what I do and teach them about what I do, because I really want more people to do this. It will have a greater impact on the environment and in our personal lives, the more of us know how to do this. Yeah.
That's awesome. So to the students watching, can anybody who knows how to sew, will you just pop something in the chat that says, I do? I'm very curious. feel like it's a lost art. Ooh, we have a Hannah. I know how to sew, like, close holes and hem pants, but that's about it. So
That's
oh,
a
look at her.
start. I mean, that's how I started. I was actually never formally taught. I mean, there isn't any
Mhm.
formal teaching of upcycling, to be honest with you. It's really just something that one has to pass on, and we need to grow this industry. But it starts out with just playing around with sewing. Sewing is part of it, but there's other types of constructing things. I use a lot of hot glue. There's a lot of, riveting, and there's, and you just, by playing, every project becomes a new opportunity to learn a little bit more and more about your skills. Upholstery shop. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I'm impressed by what I'm seeing in the chat. Thanks, everybody. All right, Joshua, how would you describe your job in working for yourself? Do you get to just dictate what your
Oh
day
my
looks
God.
like, when it starts, when
I
it
have the
ends?
worst boss in the whole entire world. I just gotta tell you that right now. It's my own brain. Yeah, so my job, I do search engine optimization. So my big thing is, looking at somebody's website, figuring out what's working, what's not working, why are they getting traffic or why are they not getting traffic? How do we get the right kind of traffic? And so a lot of it is doing an analysis. I do audits, and then I have to work with the clients to make changes to their website that are going to produce good results. I am wanting to be a business owner, so I'm actually creating processes and procedures. I have checklists, I have forms, and so I've created a lot of formality to what I do. So I wish I could just show up whenever I feel like it and just kind of hang out and do, push a couple buttons. But owning a business, there's always 10 things going on at any time, and you've got to make sure that you're taking care of all of those things at the same time. So yeah, so my day to day, I actually have a schedule and a routine that I put myself on. I have checklists, and I work through my processes, and I try to treat it like as if I had a real job, so, but it's fun.
Nice. Thanks, Joshua.
Yeah.
So we'll go in the same order. And there's a question here that it says, what do you like best about your job? So maybe think of 3 things that you like best about your job and rattle them off. Sarah, are you ready, or should we start with someone else?
I think I can probably come up with it.
Okay.
I think the number one thing I like about my job, which is, it can be like kind of one of the hard parts about it too, but it's probably the most rewarding, is just being able to see like the effects of your care, like really like changing people's lives. It's kind of hard during Corona times, just like we don't get to have families in the room. So I feel like it's a lot harder to, like, for patients to feel like they have like a support network when they're in the hospital. So we kind of have to act as a lot more than we used to. Like, we're not just being their person giving them medications, but like we're also acting as the person to hold their hand if they get scared, and just to kind of make sure they feel like they have someone to talk to in the hospital. So I think that it's kind of like made us expand our thinking a little bit more. So even though it can be really hard sometimes, it ends up being really, really, really rewarding. I really like my coworkers. They make it a lot easier to kind of deal with the trauma that we deal with every single day. And they kind of like really bring a good positive attitude to the workspace that we have. And then my last thing that's my favorite thing about my job is honestly just like I've always been really interested in doing medical stuff. So like I love when I get like a patient with like a really cool wound that I've like never worked with before, or like a new kind of equipment that I haven't tried, or like putting in IVs. Like I just love doing all that kind of stuff. So the fact that I get to do it every day is pretty cool.
It sounds like nursing is a perfect fit for you.
Yeah.
I don't know that new wounds would be exciting to me.
Yeah,
in the right
crazy.
field. That's great. Mitra, do you have your 3?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
So the first thing I love about my job is just intrinsically what I do. It's creative problem solving. So I just absolutely love the creative process of being presented with some confines of materials or boundaries of like a price point I'm trying to hit, some sort of challenge. Like I see it kind of as a game. So use your creativity to solve this problem. And whether it's, so the process of creative problem solving and employing creativity, whether it's with actual design and things or solving problems that are more ethereal. I love that. The second thing I love is the people that I work with and the impact of what I do, sharing it with people, and when they realize what they can do, the empowerment of that, and also the impact of like, just if I'm transforming something for a business or a client, the story and the meaningfulness of that transformation, that really shift in like, oh, this thing, like you can take some cowboy boots of your grandpa that passed away, and instead of just keeping them in your closet because they're men's cowboy boots that are size 12, making them into purses that you can give or use yourself, just that the meaningfulness, that the real connection and storytelling behind that. And then I all really love the impact on the environment. I love the sweet spot where you create a product that really solves the problem. So the other end of the problem solving, when you come out the other end, that makes the client happy, that really does divert waste, and that is a product that people really want and are willing to pay for, or willing to buy, or willing to talk about, or, so creating that, like that, it's kind of like waste alchemy. It's when you succeed at transforming this like waste product into something that truly is great. So all aspects of that.
Very cool. Thank you. Joshua.
All right. So I mentioned I had a terrible boss, but I also love my boss. So there's always a high and a low with those. So the first thing though is definitely the flexibility. I do set my own hours. I set my own work schedule. I set all of my appointments. So it's nice to have that. I also like, the second thing is I really enjoy the work. I kind of consider myself a mechanic for websites. So when people come to me and they're like, this isn't working, or I know this could be better, I'm like, cool, let me help you. Let me help you figure it out. Let's unpack it. Let's look at the data. And then we create clear plans to fix it. And, it's wonderful. And then the third one is I know where I fit. So like I truly believe that businesses are there to fill a need in the market. There's a gap and they need someone to stand in that gap and fix, do that piece. And so I know where I am. So for somebody that comes to me, it's like, I'm not going to create a new website for you. I'm not going to be the guy that's trying to sell you advertising. I'm just here to fix your site, get this working, get it up and running. You're happy, you move on, and then I go on to the next one. And so it allows me to work with marketing agencies that maybe don't have someone that can do that. It allows me to work with other developers. It allows me to work with large companies, small companies. I know where I can fit in those organizations and know my role, and then what value I add, and then how to get in and how to get out. So I'm really fortunate. It's nice when you actually find something that you love and you're good at and get paid for. So
Nice. Very cool. So to flip that coin, let's talk about challenges. And in this one, I would like it to stay positive. So let's just do one negative. So one challenge about your job. And Joshua, let's start with you and we'll just continue. We'll go Joshua, Sarah, Mitra.
Yeah. So take all that stuff and then turn it sideways. That's the challenge of it all. When you're sitting here, at my computer trying to figure out what I'm supposed to be doing, there's everything I'm supposed to be doing. And so needing to be organized, needing to be structured, needing to be able to communicate what it is that I'm doing to my clients and getting information, getting clients. It's a lot, but I definitely I appreciate the challenge, because it constantly reminds me that I need to stay organized and I need to be mindful of the strengths that I enjoy can also become a weakness if they get too excessive. So so that's the challenge, I would say.
Nice. Sarah.
I mean, honestly, it's just sort of like part of the times. I mean, I think nursing has always kind of been challenging, but right now it's like a whole new set of challenges. So I honestly think kind of just like dealing with emotional fatigue, when, like, even though it's super awesome that we get to like act as a support person for our patients, it really does make our job a lot more challenging. It feels like we're trying to juggle a whole lot of stuff And then on top of it, you know, with increased patient loads because of like downshifting with our COVID unit, it makes it pretty challenging to feel like you can be there for every one of your patients all the time. And so I think as much as like we try to sort of like look past that, it can definitely be kind of challenging at the end of the day to feel like, oh man, I like didn't spend enough time with that person, or then like you spend a lot of time afterwards thinking like there was anything else you could do or anything else you could have said. So it kind of has to just like a learning curve.
Thanks, Sarah. What about you, Mitra?
Sorry, trying to, there we go. The biggest challenge for me, I would say, is just keeping a balance of things. Like I feel like I sometimes bite off more than I can chew. I do like a whole bunch of things and making sure to meet deadlines and have time for myself. Unlike a job for somebody else, it doesn't shut off during certain times of the day. You're always working on it, thinking about it. Sometimes, I mean, I take it home with me. I'm working from home right now. A lot of people work from home now, but it just means like it never ends sometimes. So just help, you know, challenging to create boundaries sometimes and make sure that you keep yourself healthy and balanced and keep all the balls in the air. Make sure you sometimes saying no to things is challenging, to not take on projects that you know you can't do well or you don't have time for at certain times. And I have a hard time saying no to people, you know, if it's a project I want to do, but being realistic and knowing what the capacity of my business and myself is and honoring that can be challenging.
Yep, that's a really good point. Everybody has to set boundaries for sure. All right. This is a fun question. What did you want to do when you were in high school? We'll start with Joshua. What title did you want? What career did you want?
I wanted out of high school. That was my focus.
That was the career goal.
That was the career goal.
Mhm.
Yeah, you know, my dad was a UPS driver,
Mhm.
and he's been a driver forever. And then my mom was a teacher's aide, and then she wound up becoming a teacher later. And then I just enjoyed going to the beach and bodyboarding. So that was
So
that
you were
was kind of
Southern
it.
California.
I had a really strong, I grew up in Southern California. So for me, I have really strong work ethic. So whatever it is that I was going to do, like I really wanted to do it really well. And I actually didn't figure out till later in life that I enjoy economics and you know, kind of data analysis, that kind of stuff. So I took a very circuitous route to get where I am today. So if you don't know what you want to do, like just do something and do it well until you can figure out what the next thing is. Like that would be my recommendation.
Nice. What about you, Sarah? You were born to be a nurse. I feel, did you know that in high
Yeah.
school?
I did. I wanted to be in, I mean, a very large proportion of people in my family are nurses. My mom is a nurse, my aunt's a nurse. I feel like a lot of people who, I mean, I don't think this is true for everyone. I don't think you have to have some sort of special connection to like nursing or having a family member that had something happen to them or whatever it is. I just think that's kind of like a thread that's true for a lot of nurses. And even if it's not maybe before you become a nurse, it probably will be eventually, because most people I feel like come into contact with us in some way or another. So I was pretty sure I wanted to be a nurse. I did some volunteering in like the hospital and did some different programs to sort of like figure out if that was exactly what I wanted to do. Yeah, I guess it's kind of just like always been in me, I guess. And then I had a couple different family members deal with some illnesses that kind of like cemented it for me.
Yeah. Very cool. Thanks, Sarah.
Mhm.
And Mitra, what was the career goal in high school? Oh no, I think she might be frozen. Okay. We're gonna wait for her to unfreeze, but while we're waiting, students on the call, could you type into the chat what your current career goal is? This doesn't have to be realistic. It doesn't have to be something that you're gonna pursue as soon as you graduate. What's a career goal? Mine was lawyer. That didn't happen. Surgeon, nice. Very cool. What else?
Do I get the answer? I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
type it in. Coffee shop, awesome. Looks like Mitra hopped out and we'll hop back in. Forensic science, very cool.
Oh,
Very, very
cool.
cool. Military, nice.
Like criminology or something, or
A little CSI,
ooh.
Air Force, nice. Very cool. Okay. Let's see. So Sarah, I'm going to ask you a question.
Hannah wants to start a business.
Say that. Oh, nice, Hannah. Very
Do it.
cool. How much can you just describe your schooling after high school? How much school did you have to take to be a nurse?
Well, I think there's a couple different avenues that you can take to become a nurse. A lot of people don't figure out they want to be a nurse until later in their life, which there's like a lot of cool programs to do that as well. But right now in the like field of nursing, there's like either your BSN, which is your Bachelor of Science in Nursing, or your ASN, which is like an Associate's in Science and Nursing. And while associate degrees were like considered completely fine, they're moving with like the different change kind of in medicine towards trying to have most nurses have a bachelor's in nursing, just because like it's a little bit more of kind of comprehensive schooling. So I applied into a 4-year nursing program right out of high school. So I went to the University of Pennsylvania, and I did 4 years of undergraduate there, and then I graduated and took my license that's called the NCLEX, and I got my RN. So it's honestly like a pretty quick, it was a quick path for me, but for other people, you know, they might have a completely different career. And then if you already have a degree in something, you can do like a fast track nursing program, or a lot of people, you know, start with their associate's degree and do like a 2-year program, and then later on will apply to another program. You can also like do something similar to that, like where you do prerequisites, like with medical like classes in college, and then decide you want to transfer into like a 2-year nursing program or something like that. So there's a lot of different things you can do. But if you know you want to be like a nurse, it's honestly really awesome to just get it done in the 4 years. It makes it a lot easier, and you get to have a job right out of college.
Yeah, yes. I went to a nursing school. I wasn't in the nursing school, but I went to a university with a huge nursing program. And all of my friends who went through the nursing school landed some really well-paying jobs right out of college. And I went home to live with my folks.
Yeah.
So I was very jealous of the route that they took, for sure.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Sarah. Joshua.
Yeah.
Why did you just decide to start your own business? Was that something you always wanted to do?
Well, it's kind of funny because I actually ran my own business. I'm a little bit older, so I ran my own business for 10 years, about 15 years ago. I didn't actually go to college, and so I was trying to do it myself. And then I went back to college, got a degree in economics through business school, and actually helped me tremendously to run a business better. So this is actually my second or third attempt. And so it's a accumulation of knowledge. The reason why I started my own business was I left my previous job, and I was kind of in California, they say like you're in between gigs, you know, you're kind of in between things. And I knew a lot of people, and so I started doing consulting work, and just kind of started doing SEO work because I knew I could do that. That was a quick thing to go to. The times are kind of crazy. Things, you know, everybody's going online. They need help. And so I just saw a need, and I was like, hey, I think I can fill that need. And so I've been doing it, and yeah, it's been a year, and things are actually going really well for me. I feel kind of bad because like I know everybody else is having a tough time. And so but it's allowed me to you know, contribute to the community, help other people, and then also help provide for me and my family. And so owning my own business, you know, it's not like the first thing on my list, but I have a lot of experience and then schooling and practice to do it. So But I do have to say really fast, my very first business was when I was in grade school. I was selling blow pops to all the students, and the faculty didn't catch up with me till 6 months later, and then they created the no bubble gum policy, and so I actually helped the school create new
Wow.
policy through my efforts.
Oh my God.
So
So an entrepreneur from the jump. That's
well,
awesome.
yeah, you see a need, fill the need,
Yeah.
make a couple bucks. So
Convenience sells for sure.
yeah.
You do all the legwork of getting it to school and upcharge. I like it.
Then I went into like those little poppy things and I expanded out
Oh,
from there.
geez.
And yeah, they kept creating new rules. It was kind of fun.
So follow-up question for you. So you've only been in this business or you've only had this business for about a year. How long would you say it took you to build credibility with customers and then to then turn around and retain more customers?
Yeah, so that's I love that question. Sorry, really side note, really fast. So there's kind of the story of like this guy is walking around in Paris and he sees Picasso walking down the street and he says, "Hey Picasso, can you draw a picture for my girlfriend?" And Picasso's like, "Sure." So he pulls out a pad of paper, he draws it and rips it off and hands it to the guy. And the guy goes like, "Oh, cool, thanks." The guy says, Picasso says, "Hey, by the way, that's $400." And the guy's like, $400? That took you 5 minutes to put together. Picasso goes, "No, that took me a lifetime." So the business that I'm putting together, the way I do it, everything else, like it's accumulation of all the experience that I had. Wait, what was the question? I'm just kidding. Sorry. I wanted to get that value thing going.
You want me to repeat it?
Yeah. So
Okay.
get back.
How long? So you've been in business for about a year.
Yeah.
How long did it take for you to build credibility with the customer base?
Okay, great. So using my experience before, I had to make sure to really get my marketing message and get my offering and dialed in really tight. And then I just started promoting myself and kind of putting it out there. And it took me I got my first client within a few months, but only because of the connections that I had from my previous job. So I kept those connections going. But what really did it for me was, again, side story, there's a barber that I knew that had a barber shop. And when he first started, his store was empty. And he was looking around and he was like, "This is not a good thing." So he started pulling people off the street, said, "Hey, come in, I'll give you a free haircut." So then he started doing haircuts and other people were walking by seeing a shop and they're looking and they're like, "Oh." So they would come in, "Hey, it looks like you're busy, but can I get a haircut later?" And so for him, he did this thing called busy makes busy. And so what I did was I immediately started giving away work. I was like, "Listen, I have a process. I know it works." And so I started putting out free contracts. I picked up a few clients and eventually I started switching out the free work for the paid work. And now I'm all paid work, but I still have it in my business plan. Don't get this out too far, that I still give away at least one free project every quarter. So I'm still going to give it away. I'm still going to help people. I still want to, keep that pipeline going of busy makes busy and helping other people. So.
I like it. I like the stories too. It helps put things into context. Mitra, welcome back. Thank you for jumping back in. I'm sorry if you were experiencing some technical difficulties.
Yeah, sorry about that.
All good. So question here, what's like your favorite thing you've ever created? Can you think of a project that you worked on that just really sticks out?
There are a lot of really cool things I've created. As like an artist, it's always like the next cool thing. It's like, oh, this is really cool. My dad's an artist too, and he would always have these like star products that he would produce like, throughout the years. And mine's kind of like that. One of the most entertaining and challenging things I've ever created was a full-size tomato costume that goes over a person. So just their legs stick out the bottom. And I had to like create a perfect sphere out of fabric over which to stretched over this framework of a circle that I had to create somehow too, that a person could fit into. So it's kind of like an engineering challenge. And that was for like a film that was being made. I also created, my ex-husband and I created a project for Frank Black from the Pixies. He was doing a project with a golem, which is a mythical creature that's made of clay. And so we both co-created this like wig and costume of a golem that showed up on this album cover. So that was really entertaining. I really just like weird challenges. I mean, it can be anything from just really small. This woman came in one time and her husband had passed away and she had 4 kids and she wanted me to make them little necklaces that could hold little vials that had the ashes of their dad. And that was really sad, but it was a really meaningful project. So I just take things, thing after thing after thing, and just kind of give it my best. And, you know, if I make an impact on people, like the whole thing about the combination of my favorite things about a project is the creative problem solving, the impact on people, and the impact on the environment, and the perfect sweet spot of engineering and design and creativity. I'm pretty pleased with the thing. So
That's awesome. Can you, I'm sorry if I missed this. What was the tomato costume for?
it was for a film. A local
Okay.
filmmaker was making a film. I don't know if they ever finished the film or whether I can talk about it. I have no idea
Oh,
what
okay.
the film is, but the project itself was entertaining.
That's great. So there's a question here that sits under the questions that students had for Sarah. However, I think that it's a fantastic question and I'd like to ask all 3 of you. It's not so much career related as it is just life experience related. So if you could go back in time, would you change the way your life is today? I think that's a really valuable question for you know, older people to answer for younger people. So anybody want to volunteer to go first? It's a big question.
Wait, we're older people, right?
Yes, you are older people. Go ahead, Mitra.
I would absolutely not change a thing. I think every roller coaster hill and valley that I've gone through in my life have made me the person I am today. I feel pretty happy with the person I am today. There's so much, like in design, it's really important to learn, like to fail. There's a really different perception of failure. First of all, you can see failure as something that, like a success that you just didn't set out to accomplish. So you're always doing something, whether it's a mistake or an accident, or it's all relative. I'm a total relativist person. But in design, trying things and having them not work out are just as important as the successes, because you really need to hone your processes and you know, you need to learn, oh, this doesn't work, this takes too long, you know, that's so important. And just like in life, you know, I've owned 9 of my own businesses at this point. I'm 45 years old, and most of them didn't succeed, or you wouldn't call them smashing successes, but every single one of them I learned from and applied to the next. And it makes me more confident and stronger as a person to have had those quote unquote failures in my past, those challenges, and this resilience and grit that I carry through that, knowing that I've struggled through some really difficult times in the past. So yeah, I wouldn't change a thing personally.
A resounding no. I like it. Joshua or Sarah, any takers?
Yeah, I'll jump in. I wish I would, you know, if I would go back and do something, I would be more intentional about how I wasted time. So, you know, when you're young, you don't really know that you can't get that back. You know, as time passes, it's the one thing you can't get back. Like money, you can get back. Friends, you know, those kind of things. Those are things that you can get back, but time, no. So I would just, like, I don't know, being older now, you know, I have to be intentional about how I have downtime, or how I refresh myself, or how I allow myself to just kind of float and just do whatever. And so when I was younger, like I remember spending hours playing video games and just dumb things that just didn't do anything. And I it wasn't intentional. So if you could be a little more intentional, like maybe when you're playing video games, like time yourself and be like, oh, wow, 6 hours. Okay. I could have maybe done the dishes, took out the trash, cleaned my clothes, you know, just something a little productive, or, you know, or actually read a book and, you know, had that knowledge. So I think that's the only thing. But I think to Mitra's main point, I can't really say that I regret anything because it got me here, and I'm okay with here. And I couldn't have planned that here, and I don't know that I could have gone back and fixed anything to make it not here. So maybe I'm just kind of fatalistic in that way. But sorry, back to the original question. More intentional with my time. I think that's what I would have done had it, if I could talk to my younger self.
And what I'm not hearing you say though is not to indulge in things like video games, but maybe to like mix it up to add a little bit more productivity in there.
Yeah, or just even be intentional. Like if you are going to read, like maybe read some books that that you actually enjoy. So maybe you don't want to read the books that the English teacher is asking you to read. Fine, go find something that's in the same genre, or that's something that would be more appealing to you. Learn a skill, like if it's sewing, like sew something to some intention, or I don't know, figure out how it works. Anyway.
Thanks, Joshua.
Okay.
Sarah, our youngest panelist.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like I don't know that I have really all like the life wisdom to say whether or not I would change a whole lot. I mean, I think in terms of my career path, I probably wouldn't change too much about what I've done. Like I went into what I wanted to do directly out of high school. And now I turned 23 2 days ago, and I make substantially more money than probably most of my peers. And then I have a stable job in Corona, which is really awesome. I mean, I think like I would change honestly mostly just like stuff about the past year. Obviously, like I would love to not be spending my 20s inside. I really love traveling. I did a semester abroad, so I was like fully had plans to move back to Australia when I graduated. So I'm like that. Those are the things I would change, but that's kind of like beyond all of our control. So in terms of like what I've done so far, I feel like I've kind of done what I wanted.
Follow-up question. Could you be a nurse in Australia? Would you just have to pass their tests?
They don't actually have testing in the same way that we do. So like there are tests that you would have to pass. But my like licensure in the US is actually not like more than they have. It's just kind of different, but they still like accept it. And there's like you can become a permanent resident, so I could like not have to deal with like all the kind of challenges of trying to get be able to like stay in Australia. If you're a nurse, like that's one of the jobs they consider for permanent residency. So you have to go through like resident, like to try to like become one of the, like there's like testing, and they have like some specific like point system for the medical field. But I could work there.
Very cool. That's That's great that it transfers.
One day, maybe.
Yeah, one day. Yep. Go to New Zealand. They had coronavirus under control.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they're chilling now.
Yeah, they are. Okay, so we have about 5 minutes left. I don't want to go all the way up to 9:45 because I know that our students have another class to transition into. So as our last question, I thought that we might end on some advice for the students listening. So the question is, what advice would you give the class as they start their career search and preparation? So I think about like searching tools, maybe some tricks you have or tips you have about where to look, how to look, and then prep. So think like resume, mock interviewing, things of that nature, job shadowing. And then just if you have any really solid general advice. I'll leave this one open too. Whoever wants to go first. Go for it, Mitra.
So my advice is initially getting off on your search, follow your heart. Ask yourself, what is it that you truly intrinsically love to do? And even if it doesn't seem like it could be a career, there are probably some elements of it that can. Like if you do like playing video games, my son, I have 3 teenagers, by the way, high schoolers, all of them. My son's 16 and he loves playing, he loved playing Minecraft when he's younger. And now he's doing these crazy weird challenges and building things, and he's starting to develop an appreciation for like engineering and architecture out of that. So follow your heart, show up and put in the work. Like a lot of people have this feeling like things will just happen for them, like they have this want, but for whatever reason, whether it's they don't think it could happen, just take one step of action towards a goal. Even if it's like, I don't know what I want to do, just start exploring some things. Just take one little step. It doesn't have to be this huge daunting thing like, I don't know how I'm going to get to this goal, but just one little thing at a time, and just do something every day. One little thing. And then just really just showing up to things, saying yes to things, trying things that maybe don't seem possible, but like, why not? Put yourself out there, challenge yourself a little bit to push your boundaries of comfort. The more you do that, the more courageous, and you push those boundaries out, and the more courageous you get, and the more you just experience. And like I said, don't be so hard on yourself, and perceive failures as things that should tell you don't do this again. It should tell you learn from this and take this education that you learned from this quote unquote failure to do this in a better, more effective, more efficient way in the future. So those are my general forms of advice.
That's wonderful. Thanks, Mary.
I feel like maybe just because I was only like I've only been out of college for less than a year, and like it still feels like high school is really fresh for me. So like I can definitely put myself in y'all's shoes in terms of sort of like what it feels like to be looking for like maybe a career opportunity or something right now. I think and I feel like I'm still kind of just like dipping my toe in, honestly. Like I haven't done a whole lot of job interviews. I applied early decision to school, which if you're interested in the one school specifically, and you know that like their financial aid package, if you want to go to college, obviously not everyone wants to, but if you know a school you want to go to, and you can apply an early decision, I highly recommend that. It was extremely helpful to kind of like, it was really like brought down my stress a whole lot because I only had to apply to one place, so I only did one school interview. But just put yourself into your interviews and like your applications, just because they don't want to hear like the story that you think they want to hear. Like they actually want to hear about you. So try to make it personal however you can. And yeah, I think you should just like, I agree with like everything that Mitra said as well. Like just like try to keep going.
Awesome. Thanks, Sarah. Joshua.
Yeah, I would, it's hard. You know, I think at different stages of my life, I had different passions and different things that I enjoyed. I think my advice would be like, develop your strengths, like figure out what it is that you're good at, and then who needs it, or like how you can earn a living. I mean, like a lot of things that I really like to do, I don't do those for a living. I get to do those on the side because I'm earning a living, but I'm earning a living doing something that is in my strengths, and is something that maybe I didn't exactly have a passion for, but I now developed a passion for it, you know, after doing it. You know, now I really care about it. I'm like, oh, cool. So I don't know. I mean, like, you know, as students with so much that's going to happen in your life, so many changes, if you know you want to do like nursing or something that's very like career set, like you're done, you get a job right afterwards, like definitely start now and get that practice in. If you're an artist, like or an entrepreneur, it's a tough road, man. I just have to tell you, but start now, like build your portfolio, like get some of the foundational pieces together that will make you ready when the opportunity comes. So focus on your strengths and start, I guess, to what Mitra said too, start doing the work now, and then figure out like what are some core things that you can kind of put together that will help present you better. And I've noticed a trend, like a lot of students are starting to develop their social media profiles, and they're starting to develop these like portfolios of work. And I would say leverage the time that you're in high school and practice and try and fail. Again, to Mitra's point, it's like fail, but because failure then feeds that next thing that you're going to learn. So, you know, even Thomas Edison, when they asked him like, hey, you it took you forever to develop a light bulb, you know, 1,000 failures. He's like, no, I just found 99 ways not to make a light bulb. So
Yep.
Just take the
Yep.
time and invest, you know, and be, I don't know, intentional, right?
Fail. I heard this in one of the webinars we hosted in the fall, and it's not really failing if you're making an educated guess at something. So you're gonna sure it's not gonna work and you're gonna fail, but you're gonna fall just like it's such a short fall, because then you're just gonna get right back up and try something else. So it's, I think when we talk about failure, we picture like you're trying to climb a mountain and falling off, you know, and it's this huge dramatic failure, and it just
Yeah.
doesn't have to be that, and it rarely is.
I think the only
I
fault
think,
in
yeah, I think
failure
we
is
should-
if you don't get back up and learn from the experience, you know?
yeah, absolutely. Okay, so as our last little tidbit here before we let you go, I'm gonna put our my organization's website in the chat. We have our spring job shadows open, and the application closes tomorrow at noon. So if you follow that link, you can learn about the Elevate program, which is career connected learning. And in our calendar of events, you'll find a job shadow application link. If you would like to explore any career that you might be interested in, apply for a job shadow. Everybody who applies gets a job shadow. And so this is just an awesome way to explore something that you think you might enjoy. It's a great opportunity to find, to validate that, yes, actually I do enjoy that, or to say, I can't be a nurse because I hate needles. Unlike Sarah, I don't like putting in IVs. So anyway, just thought I'd pitch that to everybody. Again, the deadline is tomorrow at noon. So if you're going to apply, take these last couple minutes before class and do it. It's not a long application. All right, to our 3 panelists, thank you so much for giving us an hour of your time on this morning. I really appreciate all of the insight that you've shared.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Good luck.
Thanks, everybody. All right, note from your teacher in the chat. Looks like you're going back to Google Meet to debrief. All right, bye, everybody.
Bye.